All right, guys. Ryan did ZZP here.
And I'm Al.
And Al brought me up here today, and he evidently has some words to say, so stay tuned. All right, Al, what's going on?
So, you want to know what pisses me off, Ryan? What pisses me off is when just general people on the internet, they could be customers of anyone, think they know more than they do, and they try to compare dyno numbers from two vastly different dynos.
Oh no, this is bad.
This is a constant battle.
Yes. So, to give you a little bit of insight, guys, there are numerous types of dynos out there. So what I'll do is I'll name the three most common. You have your Mustang dyno, your Dyno Jet, and then your hub dyno. Those are going to be your three most common dynos.
Yeah, there's a couple different brands of hub dyno now, but
there are a couple different more brands of hub dynos. So but those are going to be your three major brands, three major ones. The hub dyno, you take your wheel off and you connect the dyno packs directly to the drive wheels. The Mustang dyno puts a load on your vehicle, and the Dyno Jet, we'll kind of use that as like the base.
Well, there's two different kinds of Dyno Jets too. You have inertia Dyno Jets, and then you have Dyno Jets that actually have a load applied to them also.
There you go. So, guys, Al has a gear to grind about dyno numbers.
Oh, it ticks me off. They all read so much different. Like, I like the hub dynos because you don't have tire slip, but you also don't have the parasitic loss of your wheel and tire. Like, it's not connected, so you're not having to rotate it. So even if everything else is perfect and the two dynos are calibrated as closely as possible, they're still going to be slightly different. You're rotating less mass. Dyno Jets typically, on average, read a little higher than a Mustang dyno. Our Mustang dyno is pretty standard as far as Mustang dynos go. We have a friend of ours that has a Mustang dyno 15 minutes away. Any car that we've done, one or the other, they're within a couple horsepower. And then there's even a Dyno Jet that I've used down in Indiana that people call it a heartbreaker down there, which by Dyno Jet standards it is, because it actually, those cars read pretty similar numbers on our dyno. Yeah. But then you have other dynos random places across the country that will read crazy high. One of the other factors you have is the parasitic loss, the amount of power it takes to actually turn the rollers. All dynos add that back in, so you know the actual power the car's making. Mustangs use a horsepower number, which I think is a more accurate way to do it. Dyno Jets use a percentage. So you'll have a situation where, let's say a stock Grand Prix is going to be pretty similar on a Mustang and a Dyno Jet. And then you take Matt's drag car, they might be 300 horse different. Yeah. Because the Dyno Jet is adding that percentage in, and the more power you make, the bigger your percentage is.
Really?
So, and then you have like Dynacoms, Dynapacks, Bud's mobile dyno in his trailer shed. Like, come on, guys. Dynos are a tuning tool. We use them for that all the time. We write down as many details as we can about the car when we put it on our dyno, so the next time it comes back, we can get everything set up exactly the way it was, so that we can actually compare from the before to the after and see what the differences are. If you dyno your car here and then put a cold air intake on and then go down the road to a Dynacom, you're going to think your intake added 75 horse. And it obviously didn't.
Not. Yeah.
So please, keyboard warriors, knock it off with the dyno numbers. They don't mean crap.
It's sometimes a good way to kind of gauge where you are, but unless you have or been on the same dyno consistently, then you don't know the gains of it. Like on that same dyno, your stock car can make 190 on, then the other dyno stock car can make 220.
I can make a car read 5 horse different just by changing the tightness of the straps.
Yes. So there's a lot of things that go into dyno numbers. So when you guys are talking about dyno numbers online and the way dynos work, there's a lot of things that go into that, you know? So
this turbo is better than this turbo because this one made this horsepower here, and this one over here, 17 states away, made this power. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So your things like, literally, your weather can change your dyno numbers. Whether it's warm or cold outside, that will significantly swing your numbers in one way.
Your dynos have a correction factor, which takes the power that you make on that day and convert it into what you would make at this temperature, this humidity, and this barometric pressure. That correction factor is only really accurate for naturally aspirated cars. Forced induction cars, and the more you're relying on the forced induction, are not accurately affected by that correction factor. And so you have to keep that in mind too. Even when you're using a corrected dyno number, if you have a forced induction car that is heavily relying on the forced induction, let's take my car for example. What's it make if it was NA? 130?
130 horsepower probably.
Yeah, and with the turbo it makes 730. So even though we have a correction factor applied, I still need to make sure the atmospheric conditions are roughly similar if I go to the dyno again and I want to actually compare those numbers to each other. There's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
It makes me so angry.
So guys, all in all, there are a lot of factors that go into making a number. You cannot use your number from Florida against someone who's in Colorado and expect them to be, apples to apples. Most times it's apples to oranges. So I think that's a pretty good way to wrap it up.
And I like apples and I like oranges, but they're not the same.
They're not the same. So guys, stop comparing your dyno numbers all the time. Remember, different kind of dynos, different weather, all factor in that what kind of power numbers you're going to make. So, as per usual, Ryan D at ZZP.
And I'm Al.
You can reach us at customer service at ZZPerformance.com. We'll see you next time.